Welcome to Honest Conversations, a Folktales mini-series exploring all things mental well-being as part of the 2021 Mental Health Awareness Week. This year's theme is nature, and at Boatfolk we're firm believers in the power of the water to help soothe the soul. Each day this week we'll be speaking to a member of the Boatfolk community who will share their first-hand experiences of grappling with their own mental health. We hope you enjoy listening. Today we're speaking with extreme ocean swimmer Ben Hooper. Ben shot to fame in 2016 as the first man to attempt to swim the Atlantic from Brazil to Africa as part of the Swim the Big Blue expedition. After being called to a dramatic and premature end, the dream remains unfulfilled for now. Ben, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good. Just fresh out of a swim training session. So all good. All good. Thank you. Yourself?
Excellent. I'm very well, thank you. No, I'm good, thanks. So look, I've given a bit of an intro to you. Can you tell our listeners a bit about your background and you know, how does a Gloucestershire ex-policeman come to take on the impossible?
Yeah, very long story short, many years ago, I did serve in the police in Wiltshire, although I was living in Gloucestershire when I moved away from psychology to attempt the expedition, or first of all, plan it, having realised, you know, that nobody had done it before or done it properly. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's been with me since childhood. I drowned age 5 in a pool in Belgium, recovered, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Got into a bit of, I think they were BT swimathons, you know, as a teenage kid. The love of water just continued really all the way from there. So a bit of triathlon, a little bit of free diving, scuba diving, you know, and just really, it never went away. And when I left the police back in 2007, I was suffering a bit of reactive depression following an injury. Yeah. It took me a little while to get my head around that. You know, I sort of overcame that, and I hit a similar patch back in 2013, and I just thought, you know what, I've got to do something here. Because if I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I had a daughter to think about, and myself too. And, you know, when you're sat on an ambition and you've never really fulfilled it, you've got to get on with it. And that was my moment, you know, that epiphany. And I remember saying to Kate, I went downstairs, I said, I'm going to try and swim the Atlantic. And, you know, she said, oh, that's nice, and passed me the tea towel, you know, to do the dishes. And that was where it started, you know, a lot of planning and preparation around the logistics, and sort of trying really to understand, 1, what the ocean was about, 2, what I would need to do it, 3, the boat, and 4, the physical and the mental side. Yeah, I think the exciting moment came when Guinness World Records confirmed nobody had ever, you know, had a verified attempt, let alone a verified crossing, despite the couple of individuals that tried to claim it, like Benoit Lecomte in 79 days from New York to France. Wow. Cracking.
Quite a feat.
Great if you've got an outboard attached to you. And even then, I think you'd struggle. But fair enough, that was his challenge, and he did what he did, including obviously pausing in the Azores. But that was the point at which it became very exciting. And I realised, okay, I've got a monumental task ahead of me. I spoke to Ran Fines, who's my patron, so Ranulph Fines, and he said, yeah, you know, get on with it. Go and get it done. He said, it's the last great bastion. Yeah. And I suppose it is.
No, I suppose you're absolutely right. And is that what sort of drew you to it? I mean, did you sort of think to yourself, okay, well, what can I do that no one else has done? And that's what drew you to it? Or did you know straight away, no, it's the Atlantic or nothing?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it was the Atlantic or nothing. I mean, since childhood, I've always dreamt about swimming across an ocean. And, you know, I know about the English Channel, and I've been, you know, slammed for saying it's cold and dirty and I'd never swim it. But it's a very different challenge. It's a very different swim, you know, and that's what intrigues me. How do you go for 200 days, 15 to 20 kilometers every single day to get every single mile done and get across in one piece? And of course, attempt 1 taught us so much, not just about ourselves and the people around us, but about the actual logistics. Were fine, swim is doable, boat needs to be different, you know, and other lessons around that. And again, just referring back to Ran, I think, you know, he said, if you don't do it, how do you learn these lessons? More people have landed on the moon. You know, many more have climbed Everest and swam the Channel. And there are reasons for that. But it's my challenge. And if I can achieve that and help other people along the way, which we inspired a lot of people last time, from a young autistic lad who swam for the first time to a young lady in Cheltenham called Rachel who swam the channel in the swimming pool, but she can only use her arms because she has MS. That's the power of this. And I think that's what drives me and the team to revisit this and get going again.
Absolutely. Now, look, you've been pretty open in the past about overcoming aversity and sort of your own mental health struggles to take on the challenge. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a curious thing because reactive depression was obviously driven by environmental factors at that time. I was in the police. I was also with the Reserve Army and flat out, 7 days a week. And when you get injured and that comes to a halt, as the doctor said to me, it's that just slump in serotonin, and I know I'm not on my own with that. A few months of counselling and medication, just basic line medication. It wasn't, in my opinion, actually that serious, but it was serious enough to affect my life and those around me. I think having gone through that, it not only gave me insight regarding depression and myself, but enabled to help others, which obviously through working and research in psychology I was able to do. I think it also makes you realize that there are other ways of managing mental health and overcoming these issues. And I think not just myself, but my captain Nigel has long-term depression, and that's treated, but he always feels better when he's at sea.
Right.
Pam, my medic, they don't mind me sharing this, I've checked. She has fibromyalgia. And again, she's never felt so good as when she was at sea with us. And they'll be the first to say that. So I think, yes, this is a challenge about pushing human boundaries and endurance. It is the last great bastion to be conquered. We're conducting wonderful research around mental health and physiology, but also the marine and ocean research. But actually, I think we have a powerful message here to deliver that actually it doesn't matter where you're at. You might have no mental health concerns. You may never have experienced it. But the chances are at some point in your life, you'll have experienced stress or depression or know someone that has. And it's about just helping people to understand those things. And actually, it's not a barrier to life. It's not a barrier to taking on your own challenges. And it could be your first 10 meters in a swimming pool. It could be your first half marathon. Could be your first channel crossing, could be trying the Atlantic, whatever it may be, stepping out the front door if you've got agoraphobia. Yeah. It really doesn't matter, whatever it is. I think what we as a team want to demonstrate is that mental health isn't a barrier to life. And it's certainly not a barrier to taking on your own ambitions and dreams and achieving them.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what is it about the challenge for you personally that is cathartic? Is it the being out on the water and being within the sea itself, or is it the sort of activity and the energy that you have to put into it, or is it a combination of everything?
I think it's an interesting combination. I was going to answer you with I love pain, but that would be a lie.
Get a tattoo then.
I mean, maybe I will. Maybe we'll get people to sponsor a tattoo onto me that says I love pain with a unicorn underneath or something. I think, yeah, it's a combination. Unfortunately, I don't come from a wealthy background, and I know Ran fought early on in his expedition career to bring in sponsors, but he started at a slightly more advantageous position, as he knows, and many others do. Last time I had to build it from the ground up, and I think that led to a few flaws within our equipment potentially, but again, nothing that actually brought the attempt to a halt. I think it is a combination. It's the excitement of building this from the ground up. It's the excitement of seeing other people's reactions. A guy called Larry in Key West, his reaction was phenomenal when he realized that I was the idiot trying to swim across the Atlantic, and the impact on other people who then say, actually, do you know what? If that ordinary chubby guy over there can do it, I'm going to go and have a go at this. And I think that drives it. But it's also the planning and the understanding. And this is all before you get into the water.
Yeah.
And actually, the swim is the most straightforward bit, because when I'm in the water, I'll be honest, and I know many other open water swimmers have this too, it is cathartic.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, during the longer swims last time, up to 20K, you hear little voices or you see things you do. And with the heat and the conditions, your brain plays tricks on you. Yeah. But it's almost like a mental game with yourself. you know you can do it, because I spent, I swam over 12.5 million meters in preparation for it last time.
Yeah.
In 3 years. That's more, well, it's pretty much more than an Olympian. And you're ready for it physically, you can do it. The issue is separating, again, the mental element from the physical, because where I'm planning everything and I'm driving sponsor chasing, I'm driving the PR, the charity fundraising stuff, there's so many elements. And actually this time, with a little bit more help from some of our sponsors, including Boat Folk, and from the team being obviously a loyal team this time that are with me from the beginning, I'm able to start peeling some of those tasks away. So it will free me up that when I'm in the water, I can just go, do you know what? I've got an empty head. It is about that cathartic feeling the water trickle down your sides at speed, feeling yourself get turned over in a washing machine on top of a 60-foot swell.
Sounds great.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, do you know, one of the weirdest things was, I can't remember what day it was. I think it was about day 8 or 9. I actually suffered a bout of vertigo in the water. God. And it shows the mental element, because I think it was about then, that we'd moved off of a very shallow shelf. When I say shallow, hundreds of meters.
Yeah.
And suddenly there were 3,000 meters, I think it was, underneath me.
Oh.
And I think your brain goes, uh-oh. And the visibility is 50 meters or so down. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I bet.
But you see shadows, you see shapes. And then there were days where it was dark and it was stormy. Things in the water ranging from turtles to jellyfish, which obviously sorted me out on day 22.
Right.
A couple of sharks, 4.5 meters roughly, we reckoned. And it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you motivated. And I think it's just a combination of that. And actually, for me, sounds cheesy, but one of my biggest drivers last time was to raise money for charity.
Yeah.
And to inspire people.
Yeah.
Not just ourselves. And based on the distance we achieved, which, wasn't everything we wanted, we hit that 1% target.
That's great.
So it makes me think, if we got the 100%, we'd have raised everything we wanted. We'd have smashed it. It would have been great. And the research would have been wonderful. So I think those things motivate you, not letting your team down, not letting the public down, and not letting my daughter down. Those are key drives, key motivators. But it is beautifully cathartic in the water, no matter what the condition.
No, I bet. What about the swim itself? Obviously, you've said that actually the hard part is getting in the water and doing all the prep.
Yeah.
There must be such a mess of emotions going on within you throughout a typical day, if there is such a thing whilst you're in the water. What sort of things do you feel?
Yeah, wow, you're right. I mean, it's a full spectrum of emotions. I think Jason Bully, my cameraman from Chief Production and good friend, he got it right when we stepped off the start line. He said, this is the achievement. If you get across, that's the cherry.
Yeah.
And he's right. You have to overcome so many things just to get to the start line, because people are people. I thought I knew people well. Don't assume anything is the lesson I learned there. But I'm just thinking the emotions. Yeah, just thinking back, it's emotional. I mean, obviously, the first few days, it was interesting because the swim was punching out well, I was getting mileage, and then we hit currents that we hadn't quite calculated. And to be honest, there's no way of figuring that out other than getting out there. The sat images give you some current, but it's almost like there's two different currents. The surface current is very different. And I think in 2.5 hours, 3 hours nearly, I swam 300 meters. I was basically going backwards towards Nigeria.
Wow.
I got out and I wept. I just cried, because I think it was mostly frustration at that day, but I think it was also a lot of the bottled up emotion of the struggles we had to get off the start line. And I'd contain that, one, because you're on show, two, because you don't want to show weakness to the team. And actually the team were like, don't be an idiot. If you need to cry, let it out. Yeah. I mean, Russell will obviously give me loads of grief. That's Russell's job as chief mate, to give me grief. And he's from up north as well. So that just makes it even more comical for him and the team. Yeah, while you're swimming, though, and you're in the water, all sorts go through your mind. You're thinking, I know the boat's about 1 kilometre away. Has she sunk?
Wow.
Is my kayaker still there?
Yeah.
Is everyone all right at home? Wonder what the public are thinking, what the sponsors thinking, and all these different things. And then, of course, memories come through. And obviously the biggest emotion, second biggest emotion, was day 22, when the Portuguese man of war took me out completely. 5 minutes, I think it was, and we managed to get on board, and I was gone.
Talk to us a bit about that. I mean, what actually happened there?
Yeah, well, I was. It's funny. Every time a turtle appeared anywhere near the boat, something went wrong. A sea turtle.
Interesting.
We're not talking terrapins. We're talking things that are sort of 3, 4, 5 feet by 5 feet, whatever the dimensions, but big. And every time one of them came nearby, something went wrong.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was interesting because I saw one on the lunchtime and said, something will go wrong this afternoon. Got in after the lunch break. From memory, I think it was about 2:15. Session wasn't going too badly. And I ran into whatever it was. It felt like fine hair. And within a split second, I was in absolute agony. I sat up in the water. Sen, my Senegalese kayaker, knew straight away something was wrong. And he started squirting our vinegar mix on me, thinking it was just more stings, because I'm getting stung and bitten and nipped on by things I can't even see constantly, let alone running into debris and bits of crap that hit you in the head.
Yeah.
And the sun, let's not forget, it's pretty warm down that. I said to him, no, I'm in big trouble here. And I remember sort of doing this. Now, bear in mind, I had a big beard at this point. My hair was here, goggles here.
Yeah.
I managed to pull a huge strand off of my head and I saw it, but of course it stung my hand. And it was purple tentacle, or almost purple. It's hard to remember, really. And then I looked at my left shoulder and there was a piece on my left shoulder. So I ripped that off and I could see it was like having a black spider underneath your skin on my left shoulder. And I assume today, having obviously looked and talked with a medic, it was venom. Yeah. But I was covered. And what I'd swum into was the remainder of a Portuguese man of war. Now, Sen thinks he might have seen the sail, which is the top head of, the purpley silver head of the Portuguese man of war. Technically, it's not a jellyfish, by the way. I'm no scientist. But
you're not? That's interesting.
No, I can't remember why, but we'll call it a jelly for the moment, and the audience can correct us. But, I literally managed to heave myself onto the spare kayak that Sen towed. And I just lay back in absolute agony. He was, using our signals and radio to the boat. The boat had obviously realised something was wrong because they'd seen me get onto the kayak. I think they were 600-700 metres away. I remember big old Russell picking me up, and he's a big guy, into the dinghy at the side of the boat. And I just flew over the side of the deck, literally. Nigel Pam picked me up, my captain and medic. And I think that was it for me. I remember a little bit laying on the deck. And when I came round, I was obviously IV'd up. Yeah. They brought me back, and I'd had a massive reaction to the Portuguese man of war.
Gosh.
But it was a very close call because Nigel's son, Paul, who's our onshore UK medic, he's a trauma consultant in London. Unbeknownst to me, he was on the phone to Nigel and the team, obviously advising. And we had a cut-off. I think the cut-off was about 10:30 that night. If I hadn't, forgive me for being graphic, if I hadn't passed urine, then I was going into full renal failure.
Wow.
And that would mean an evacuation. But the problem was at that point, we were out of helicopter range.
God.
And we'd probably seen 1 or 2 ships a week at that point.
Right.
And with the state of the vessel, because we had an energy issue on board, we knew even with the lack of winds, we do about 6 knots an hour.
Yeah.
So I was basically screwed.
Sounds like a miracle.
Yeah, but I think it was literally about 20 to 11 at night. I remember Russell holding me under the armpits because I could barely stand.
Yeah.
And I was sort of dangling over the sort of doorway into the galley of the starboard hull.
Yeah.
And Pam was underneath me with a bucket or whatever, measuring jar. And gravity saved me. Water flowed, relief came. No evacuation needed because it meant that my kidneys were doing what they should still just. And it was about 4.5 days later. I think it was day 26. I got back in and did 5K. And then day 27, back to 10K. Day 28, I think it was about 14, 15K. And that was the way we were going to keep going. So I got going again.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and day 34 was where we had the mizzen issue on the rear mast. And that was the most emotional point. 7 hours of debate, trying to do everything, including getting Pam's top out of a rucksack, thinking, what can we do here to repair the forestay? And we couldn't. And it meant, obviously, in an emergency, again, instead of it taking 4 or 5 minutes for the vessel to get to me, it would take close to 10 because of the turning and issues with wind and so on. I'm no sailor, so forgive me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, 7 hours, worst day of my life.
Wow.
And Nigel called it, as is his duty, because when I'm on land, I'm in charge of the expedition. When we're at sea, by law, it's the captain in charge. And
Quite right.
yeah, as Nigel said, and I'm sure, we've discussed before, you have to live to fight another day.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth the risk. We're not American. We're not gung-ho. We're clever. We're British. And we'll have another go at it another day with the lessons learned.
Quite right.
But that was terrible.
No, it must have been absolutely devastating. And I mean, thinking about how you deal with it, I mean, how have you overcome the feelings that you must have felt having had to give up on essentially your dream?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you feel like a failure. And actually, 95% of people have said it's not a failure. You crossed the start line, you had a go, it's not been done before.
Exactly.
Learn and think about it again. The media were fantastic. Our sponsors were great. It was a very small minority of people on social media, as we all get. And that's their prerogative to hide behind their keyboard and spout garbage. That, I think actually while we're on that, it's a very important point for mental health.
Yeah.
There are people out there who get trolled and bullied. And obviously more recently through Black Lives Matter and the Football League have taken action and shut down social media for 4 days. And I think actually, I'm no athlete or sports person, I'm really not. But there are people who are much more high profile who get equal amounts of rubbish, and it's just not on.
No.
I think as the head of Wowser, Steve Monotone's put it, this is a different swim. This is not the Channel.
Yeah.
This is not a marathon swim. It's a marathon swim every day for 200 days.
Yeah.
Just get on and do it and ignore the keyboard trolls because they don't actually know what they're talking about, and they don't. And I just wish many more people would take that and use it, because I've seen better people than me crushed by social media to the point that they suffer depression or worse. So I think, it's a vital point. If you've got something to say, either come and say it to someone, or if you've got nothing good to say, don't speak at all.
All right. It's the age-old thing, isn't it? If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Yeah,
there's something we've installed in Georgia, my daughter. It's treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter what your gender is, your sexuality, your skin color. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. If you're not, I'm just going to ignore you. Get on with your life,
Right.
But sorry, waffling off on an angle. In terms of overcoming it, I've got to be honest, Dom. I can't say I've got over it 100%. Okay. I still see the odd article, and although the media, were 99% amazing, you see things or you reread your diaries in planning for a reattempt, and it does suck the wind out of you, and you have to just remember, actually, we did the best we could with what we had, with the lessons that have never been learned before. Absolutely. So I think that applies to everyone. If you fall over, get up. If you think you failed at something, you probably haven't.
Yeah.
You're challenged. There's obstacles, but just get up and keep going. It's what we do. It's a British thing. We don't go and have tea, have a cucumber sandwich, and we'll think about it and go and have another go after lunch. And I think that's a good rule for life.
Completely.
Yeah, it took me a long time. It took me a long time to sort of get my head around it. I felt like a complete failure for probably a year or two. And actually going back into the police as a civilian police staff member, late 2017 with Gloucestershire was key to my survival personally, because it was a very challenging role. It was a great role. And I think it restored that bit of inner confidence that you lacked.
No, of course.
To Matt and Louise on the team, I've got to say thank you, because without them and the whole team, I think I would have struggled going forwards to get back on my feet and keep going. And a good friend of mine, Emeritus Professor Tony Beach, who engaged me in some wonderful Bernardo CSE research, which was most vital and ended last year after a few years. That got me going again.
Yeah.
But it was a very difficult 6 months, because in Brazil, things happened. Pam got injured in Brazil, fluke accident. I fell over on the only wet patch in northeast Brazil. They'd had a drought for 2 years. I got out of the swimming pool after a training set. Yeah, amazing. Training set over, got out the pool thinking, okay, I can go and have a Coca-Cola. Then we've got to go to the boat and keep stripping the boat out. And I found a wet patch about the size of 3 feet and went over. Both knees inwards, under the body weight, contusion, plaster cast.
Oh, God.
Unreal. So we evacuate the
You
rest.
couldn't write it, honestly.
I know. You just when something's ill-fated, it really is, isn't it?
Well, no, quite right.
But yeah, I mean, we got the team out of there. Russell and I remained to the end, stripped the boat out, got everything sorted from that side. And obviously, I was on crutches and had a full plaster cast in 36-degree heat.
Wow.
So huge thank you to Russell for doing all that work. But already at that point, I realized that we're capable of so much more than we thought we were, physically, mentally, resilience-wise. We had a huge number of lessons there. I've got cynical Russell on my left hand. I've got positive Nigel Skipper on the other, and the whole team. And we realised, actually the swim's doable.
Yeah.
What we need to do is take the essential bits and move forwards. And it did, we got back to the UK, wound down the expedition, the supporting company for contracts, sorted out the money with charities, got them levelled off, balanced off, whatever the word is, and sort of just ignored social media, that handful, and really just focused on, okay, we've got to pick ourselves up and get going, not really knowing for any of us what the future held.
Without giving too much away, I mean, there are big things on the horizon, hopefully. What can you tell us?
Well, as you may have come across a small thing called COVID last year, which has obviously upended the world, our lives, and mental health-wise, it's affected everyone from children upwards. And we were sat there talking about this last year as a team. Obviously, I watched the captain, Tom, pacing the garden and doing an incredible job. And I was just sat there thinking, my toothache's not gone.
Yeah.
It's still there in the background. That thing that's undone, nagging, get down the motorway sort of thing. And you think, did I leave the cat in the oven or the iron in the fridge? I'm going to have to turn around and go back. And I sort of thought, right, okay, let's be serious. If we were going to reattempt this, what lessons have we learned?
Yeah.
So we drew up a big list. And then we started looking for vessels that were more appropriate and sturdier. And then I thought, do I need to do this? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Do I want to do it? Does the team want to do it? Yes, they do. And mid-December, the plan started coming together.
Great.
And I won't give anything else away, but watch this space.
Very exciting. We'll all be watching this space. So look, I mean, as you know, this year's Mental Health Awareness Week is focused on nature. That's sort of the overarching theme for the year, which is quite apt for you. I mean, what does nature mean to you and your own well-being?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think nature's precious. And I think as a world, we're starting to wake up to the damage we've caused and actually how we can try to help the planet recover. I mean, there are arguments that ice ages happen and global warming happened thousands of years ago too.
Yeah.
But I think there is so much more than that to the issues we've got today, particularly with ocean cleanliness. Let's not forget oceans give us the majority of our oxygen, not trees. Trees are equally valuable, but without the ocean, everyone's going to choke, trees included. Yeah. So for me, personally, and I know the team are with me on this, the plastic work, the ocean generation work on all the people, Ocean Bottle and yourselves, Boat Folk and Jurassic Coastline, all the work that's going on is vital. And I think as Sir David got it right, Sir David Attenborough, now is the time to act, and we're starting to get there. So personally, I think that's fantastic. I think from the swim side, so water is part of nature. It is, we're made of it. What is it? 80% of us is made of water. And it's the lifeblood of the universe we're in. So for me, I think it's vitally important we look after our oceans. The ocean then looks after us. For me personally, it looks after my mental health as well as my physical health. And I know it's the same for many, many other open water swimmers, sailors. I'm yet to meet a sailor that says, I hate going out on the ocean. It doesn't do anything for me, even if they grumble about costs, boats, whatever,
Yeah.
So, and let's be under no illusions. Nature's important for us intrinsically.
That's right.
Externally, and for future generations.
Quite right.
That's where it all comes together for me, Dom.
Perfect. And, obviously there are 5 themes that fall within the Mental Health Awareness Week this year. Today's being Be Active. Now, that's something that you've taken to the extreme, but do you think getting up and getting active is vital for mental well-being or is that just an aside?
No, without a doubt. And I don't think you necessarily have to go, right, I'm going to go run a marathon today, because you're more likely to get injured or feel that you've failed or not achieved your challenge. But as Jerry, our vessel owner and crewmate coming with us, says, you can't eat an elephant whole, one toe at a time. And I think that's how you have to take being active. If you've not been active before, it doesn't stop you becoming active.
That's right.
If you're already an Ironman, great, keep going, push it to the next level. It doesn't matter. Stepping out the front door. I met an agoraphobic lady some years ago, and I just thought, wow, what a condition to suffer with. And it doesn't matter what your challenge is. You can be active by going for a walk, going for a run, swim, cycle, actually just getting off the sofa every 20 minutes and doing 10 paces of your living room, getting the old walker out and going up and down the living room. That is active enough. And I think with that comes the benefits of feeling better.
Yeah.
If you're at the extreme end, you might start to think you look better, if that's what floats your boat. I don't care about how I look particularly. I like to be smart. But if I'm not an Adonis, I'm not going to cry. I think being active and mental health are intrinsically connected. Sorry, use that word twice. And we already know the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, isn't it? Your mind and your body are absolutely connected. And if one goes, the other goes. We can stave off dementia by just having conversations every day, doing crosswords, flexing the mind. You may not prevent it, but you can hold it off.
That's right.
Going for that walk, it's key. Going down to the marina and just sniffing in the air and then going home again, absolutely fine. Or if you want to go swimming, get coaching, always be safe. There's still too many drownings today.
Or if you want to swim the Atlantic, why not give that a crack?
Yeah, me and my team are more than happy to help you. Seriously, we've got one young lady who I've known for a few years. She's over in Canada, and I know she's very keen to swim the Atlantic. It is very, very costly. If it wasn't for our great sponsors and supporters providing the equipment we need to facilitate the swim, I'm not earning any money from it. None of the team are. I wish we were, but we're not. That would help my mental health. But
money doesn't buy happiness, Ben.
No, I was going to just chuck that one in there, but it wouldn't make me happy.
Yeah.
It would just allow me to eat a lot more food. But no, seriously, it is so important to be active. And it doesn't matter how you're active. Just do it. Be happy and enjoy it. So many people go raging for a challenge. They don't think about the training. They don't think about the elements behind it. And often it's because of the way media presents things, or somebody says something to them that says, okay, I can go and do that. And actually don't. Do it in small chunks. Yeah. You'll feel better. You'll get there quicker. And you'll certainly achieve your challenge at whatever level that is.
Perfect.
All doable. Nothing is impossible at all.
That is absolutely right. That's your tagline. Now, look, as part of Mental Health Awareness Week at Boatvote, we're running a challenge for our listeners, one a day. So here's today. And I think Ben's quite nicely summed it up. Wherever you are, just take the time to do a mile. And, that's whether it's running, whether it's walking, cycling, swimming, hopping, skipping. Just take a break and do it, because you will feel better for it. So that's our challenge for you for today. I mean, Ben, you're already in training for the next big adventure. What mile have you managed to achieve so far today?
Today, I only did 3K today, pool training, and most of that was sprint work. So apologies to those in the lane around me. It wasn't pretty.
But I bet you feel better for it.
Do you know what? Mentally and physically, I do feel better now. I've stopped blowing out of every orifice I possess. And it's okay. I wasn't sick, so I'm happy about that. This afternoon, a bit more expedition work, and then a little bit of yoga and stretching. And then tomorrow, the pain comes because I'm back in the gym. The gym's ramping up now. So a big thanks to Bex Francis at Fitness Fix.
Yeah, a bit of a begrudged thank you there.
Yeah, it is. I love her really, honest. But I think actually, just while we're talking about today's challenge as well, my grandmother's 90, and I've said to her, get your frame, 10 paces that way across the living room to the left, 10 paces to the right, sit down, do that once an hour. If you can do that, it's great. Yeah. You don't need weights. Bag of sugar in each hand is enough to create resistance.
Quite right.
You don't have to be Daley Thompson or Adam Jamili to get fit and be active. Just do something, and something that you enjoy in nature, outdoors. And to be honest, I'm a bit biased. Somewhere near the sea would be great.
Well, so am I, and I'd echo that thought. Well, look, that's a perfect way to end our chat today. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Ben. Best of luck for the next adventure.
Thank you, Dom, and thanks to all your listeners. And just keep an eye out for www.swimthebigblue2.com.
Good plug. Thanks, Ben. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, Dom.